Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Manu Law Classes Current Affair Analysis. In this video, we will discuss September 5, The Hindu Delhi edition newspaper. As it is 5th of September, we are celebrating Teachers' Day. So we will discuss a little bit about a very important personality, that is Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. On the birth anniversary of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, we celebrate the Teachers' Day. So he was born on September 5, 1888, and he served as the second President of India from 1962 to 1967 and the first Vice President of India from 1952 to 1962. He was born in a Telugu Brahmin family and he was a renowned scholar, philosopher and the Bharat Ratna awardee. Talking about his literary works, so his philosophy was grounded in Advait Vedant, and he also authored the book The Philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore in 1970. His other work include Indian philosophy and the philosophy of Upanishad, an idealist view of life, Eastern religions and Western thoughts, and East and West, some reflection. These are the major literary work of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Talking about various awards and honor which was conferred to Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. So these were Bharat Ratna Award. He was awarded with Bharat Ratna, which is India's highest civilian award, in the year of 1954, and he also received knighthood in 1931, and he also got a honorary membership of the British Royal Order of Merit in 1963. He was elected as chairman of UNESCO Executive Board in 1948. Talking about his contribution in the society, so he was the founder of Helpage India. He was the founder of Helpage India. It is a renowned NGO for the elderly civilians and elderly underprivileged in India, and he was the first Indian to hold the chair at the University of Oxford and the Spadling Professor of the Eastern Religion and Ethics. He defended Hinduism against the uninformed Western criticism, and he played a major role in the formation of the Hindu identity. So these were the awards and honors which were given to Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. So happy Teachers' Day to all. Now we will move on toward our news analysis. As we know that China has released its map, so the Chinese president will not attend Delhi G20 summit. In the map which was released by China, Arunachal Pradesh was shown as a part of China. So here there was a G20, there is a G20 summit which will be held from September 9 to 10, and here basically in this important forum, China will not be present or Xi Jinping will not be present. And here, as the Biden is coming, Joe Biden is coming, he said that it is very disappointing that Chinese counterpart will not attend this meet. Okay, so this was about this important article. Moving further toward our next important article, that is coming in from the editorial section, and here we will discuss about a very important article that is coming in from the climate change and how it is leading to or it is creating more problem for the women. So gender equality and environment goal, they are mutually reinforcing and they create virtuous cycle. As we know, gender equality, it is being promoted in the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, and also there is an issue of the women related problems on gender equality, and also about the Sustainable Development Goal of climate action or climatic change. So as we can see that climate change or climate action, its impact is very much profound in nature, and its consequences for the humans, they are quite big. And according to the ILO study, it has been said that in 2030, 2.2% of the total working hours worldwide, it will be lost to the high temperature, and a productivity loss is equivalent to 80 million full-time jobs. And as said by the United Nations, that women's, they will be the highly vulnerable and disproportionately affected climate change than the men in case of in the impact of climate change. Now talking about the women's, they face various severe risks like the health, safety, quality of life. These are being suffered in especially in the developing or the less developed country, where they are more vulnerable toward the climate change. So here there is dependence on the resources and the labor intensive work is there. Many people in these countries are dependent on agriculture, and the women are more likely to live in poverty than the men. And here women who are from the low economic household, they are at more risk because they are responsible for getting the food, water and other unpaid work, and because of the crisis which will be generated because of the climate change, they will always lead to more vulnerability to the women. So just comment it out in comment box that which SDG is dealing with the gender equality and also about the climate action, climate change, life below water and life on land. Okay. So just comment it out in comment box that which SDG is dealing with these issues. Now talking about African or the low income countries which are there in the South Asia and African region, they are more climate vulnerable, and here the farming and the other labor intensive work is there. And according to ILO, over 60% of the working women in Southern Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, they are still in the agriculture, and because of their underpaid or overwork, these are the main reason that they are facing such kind of problem. According to UN, most of the 80% population displaced by the climate disaster, they are women and girls, and women are more vulnerable community, and they are here basically they are more exploited. For instance, after the earthquake in Nepal in 2015, the UNFPA or the United Nations Population Fund, they found women were more exposed to trafficking and exploitation. Now we will discuss about UNFPA. What is it about? It is United Nations Population Fund. So this is basically an international development agency which was created in 1968 to support the execution of the projects and the programs which are there in the area of population and also in the area of sexual and reproductive health. What is the main mission of this particular organization? Its main mission is to deliver a world where every pregnancy is wanted and where every childbirth is safe and every young person's potential is fulfilled. In 1987, it was officially named as UNFPA or United Nations Population Fund. Its headquarters is there in New York, and it is not exactly directly responsible for the collection of primary statistics, but it plays an important role in the technical and the financial support of the statistical activities in the country such as population census, thematic survey, and it also funds assistance, research, advocacy program in three major areas that include reproductive health, including the family planning, safe motherhood, and prevention and treatment of sexually transmitted diseases. Population problem in the developing or the developed country, they are basically addressing it, and there are issues related to the status of the women, which include the gender gap. So here these works are taken by the UNFPA, and they guide people on how to maintain the reproductive health and also about the key population statistics. Now moving on toward our next important article and discussing more about this article. So here we got to know that women, they will be the more affected population segment from this climate change, and here UNFPA, it has said that after the earthquake, women were more exposed to trafficking and exploitation, and this climatic change can also lead to a discomfort for women in the agricultural workforce, and as it will be negatively impacting these population. Heat stress, climate change, unwanted rainfall, crop less effects on the crop production, say food security fall, these all things can basically lead to more problem to the women. So this was discussed in this particular article. And one more important data which is there, according to the estimate, 130 million people, they could be pushed into the poverty by 2050 due to the climate change risk, natural disaster, and the food inflation. So just remember this much of data, 130 million people. Moving ahead toward our next important article, a very important article, that is about the Aditya L1 mission. So as we know, on September 2, Aditya L1 mission was launched, and here basically as we can see that in this particular mission there are major role played by ISRO, and it has been launched to Lagrange point 1 or L1 point. So this Lagrange point 1 was discovered by a mathematician named Joseph Louis Lagrange. L1 is one of the 5 points which is located approximately 1.5 million kilometer away, and here the gravitational force of the sun and the earth, they are in equilibrium, and hence the spacecraft which is placed in the L1 orbit of the sun, they are at the same rate as that of the earth, and here they will be uninterrupted view, and that's why it has been positioned over this particular area or L1. Okay. Now talking about this particular mission, so it will be launched for the monitoring of the sun. Apart from Aditya L1, there are other important solar project which is already there in the L1 orbit, that is ESA's NASA's National Aeronautic and Space Administration Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, or we say it's SOHO. So these are the important SOHO and Aditya L1. These two will be important for studying or observing the sun and its dynamics to reveal his mysteries related to the sun. As we know, it was launched, Aditya L1 was launched on September 2. So this craft will undergo 5 orbit fueling maneuver. It means that, for example, in this particular orbit it is placed, it has gone for the first time, then it will move to the second, then it will move to the third, and so on. It will move to the 5 level, and then it will reach the L1 or Lagrange 1 point. And here this ship will also coast for about 4 months before it reaches L1. And here at this particular point, we can observe sun 24/7, because L1 is a point where it is free from any eclipse issue, or it is free from any other disturbances, and hence we can see the sun and we can observe the sun 24/7. Now here we can understand the climate variability through the solar activity. There are few spots which are named as sunspot. What are these? For example, this is sun. Here there are few spots which develop. These are called sunspots. They are usually the cooler areas on the sun surface, and they increase and decrease in a cycle of 11 years. Okay, so just remember about sunspots. These are the points, as more number of sunspots are there. So the sun is more active. And here it can be distinguished, like when sun is active and when sun is not active, it can be distinguished from these sunspots. When sun is active, the number of the sunspot is in 100, and when it is at the minimum, it can also result to 0. And according to Anam Parmu Ramaprakash, who is with the Pune based Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, despite these variation in the solar activity, the emission of the visible and the long wavelength is nearly steady. So here we can see that the wavelength is steady. Now here we can understand by Aditya L1 that how these sunspots are actually affecting the earth and affecting the radiation. Now the earth's upper atmosphere, as we know, we have ozone over there, and here most of the UV rays are being blocked. So here these absorbed energy, they affect the atmosphere composition, temperature and other parameters, and that's why we can, through the Aditya L1, we can understand the climate variability of the earth, which is affected by the UV rays which is being emitted by the sun. So the Solar Ultraviolet Imaging Telescope or SUIT, which have been developed by the Inter-University Center for Astronomy or Astrophysics in collaboration with the ISRO, the Center of Excellence for Space Sciences, India. These will observe the UV radiation in different zones and also in the solar atmosphere. Okay, so just remember about SUIT. Now, when we look deeper, as we sneeze, the sun also sneezes. And this is called the coronal mass ejection. Coronal mass ejection, these are the cloud consisting of billion tons of the energetic plasma which is mixed with the solar magnetic field, and they hurl at a speed of 250 km per second to 3000 km per second. जैसे हम छींकते हैं, sometimes our tongue move out. On a similar note, ये जो कोरोनल मास इंजेक्शन होता है, ये सन से आपकी बाहर जाती है. ये आपकी बहुत एनर्जेटिक प्लाज्मा होती है और ये आपका इसका जो मैग्नेटिक स्पीड होता है, मैग्नेटिक फील्ड होता है, वो बहुत हाई होता है एंड इट कैन एक्सटेंड टू 250 to 3000 किलोमीटर पर सेकेंड. कोरोना जो कि एक विजिबल पार्ट नहीं होता, बिकॉज एज आई ऑलरेडी टॉट यू, दिस इज सन. जो सबसे आउटर मोस्ट लेयर होगा वो कोरोना होगा, बट वो दिखता नहीं है. दीज आर इन टाइप्स ऑफ, वी कैन से फ्लेयर्स. ऐसे हम सन बनाते हैं तो ये जो फ्लेयर्स होते हैं ये आपका कोरोना को कंस्टिट्यूट करते हैं. उसके बाद आपका क्रोमोस्फेयर आता है और उसके बाद आपका फोटोस्फेयर आता है. तो दीज आर द आउटर मोस्ट लेयर ऑफ द सन. सो हेयर बेसिकली ड्यूरिंग द टाइम ऑफ टोटल सोलर एक्लिप्स, there they are visible. This is usually not visible, but except in the time of total solar eclipse, this is visible. So we can understand the artificial eclipse in the solar telescope called the coronagraph, and through that we observe the corona. So this is much easier with this particular Aditya L1 mission. And here the visible emission line coronagraph, which has been developed by the Bangalore based Indian Institute of Astrophysics in collaboration with the ISRO, it can peek into the 1.05 solar radii, a region which has been imagined by the solar telescope. And here with this we can see or observe this whole thing or the corona. Now, when a sun storm brews, so along with the sunlight and the electromagnetic radiation such as the UV rays and other rays, sun also emits a stream of charged particle and a mixture of solar magnetic field throughout the interplanetary space. These are called solar wind, and they are at an average speed of 300 km per hour when they reach the earth. These solar winds, they constantly rams the earth's magnetosphere. You might have heard about a term, aurora. It was recently observed in Ladakh dark sky reserve area, which is there in the Hanle of Ladakh. So here, as the sun is emitting a lot of magnetic field, earth has its own magnetic field, and maximum magnetic field which has been emitted by the sun, it is being nulled out, but at the polar points, there are these points when they enter the earth's surface and they interact with the atmosphere and create beautiful light, which we usually call aurora or the aurora australis and the aurora borealis. northern light or the southern light. Southern light is australis and the borealis is the northern light. So here this Earth's magnetosphere, due to the solar wind, it constantly runs the Earth's magnetosphere, which acts as a shield and deflects maximum of it, but some enter at the North Pole and the South Pole and they create the auroras. So here these solar flares will be observed through the Aditya L1 mission, and how it is actually affecting the Earth, it can be seen, and how the solar wind density is being changed. These are the space weather condition which we see by observing the solar winds. Apart from that, Aditya 1 will also function as the space weather station. Aditya Solar Wind Particle Experiment, it has been developed by the ISRO's Ahmedabad-based Physical Research Laboratory. Plasma Analyzer Package for Aditya or the PAPA, which have been developed by the Thiruvananthapuram-based Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. These will help us in understanding the various parameters of the solar wind and also of the sun weather. Okay, so this was about this whole Aditya L1 thing. Just remember all the important detail because these will definitely Chandrayaan 3 and Aditya L1 mission. These are the two important missions which can be asked in your examination. Moving further toward our next important article that is coming in from the exercise Trishul. So here the annual training exercise named Trishul of the Western Air Command of Indian Air Force. It began on Monday, and here the exercise will lead to the air asset, force multiplication and LOCs with the Pakistan at LAC. यहाँ पे आपका कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग करने के लिए ये IAF जो है अपना एक्सरसाइज करता है. So just remember the name exercise Trishul. Okay. Moving further toward our next important article that is coming in from the Space Center. So here, as we know, Chandrayaan 3 in this Vikram lander soft landed on the lunar surface, and here now there is news that Vikram lander does a hop and goes to sleep. Good night till September 22, 2023. So ISRO hopes wake up lander and the rover when lunar day dawns again. So here the Chandrayaan 3's Pragyan rover and lander Vikram lander or the Vikram lander, it has been put on the sleep mode. Okay, so this was the new upcoming which was there. Moving further toward our next important article that is coming in from the world affair. So here we have news about the Kalasaku Vanuatu Pro Western PM replaced in the parliament vote. So Vanuatu Pro Western Prime Minister Ismail Kalasaku, he has been replaced by the former Premier Sato Kilman on Monday, and he received the vote in the parliament and he defeated Kalasaku, and now he will be leading the country. Okay, so this was about this whole particular news analysis. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got to learn a lot of things. Thank you everyone. Thank you for attending this session.